Hi, I'm Andrea Buczynski, VP for Leadership Development and HR, and today I'm going to talk with you about some of our core frameworks for our movement. You all recognize this number, 10 million multiplying disciples. It's what we're believing God for by the end of 2020. It includes 5 million churches and a whole bunch of work with partners in order to see God work through them to do that. I put that there because the first essential process that we're going to look at, or framework, is the strategic plan. The strategic plan is the process and the product that informs our work. So typically in a strategic plan, your destination, where you want to be at the end, is what you're shooting for, and that goes in that future box. No matter where you are around the world, that number would be different based on what your area goal is or what your national goal might be. And we're going to look at where are we now. So from where we are now to that 10 million or area goal number, the process helps us identify what steps we need to take to get there. In a sense, this process defines the work of the team. You'll recognize some of these shapes. This is the BPMT model, and the first part there is common purpose. We are a team precisely because we cannot accomplish this as individuals. We've got to work together in a concerted effort to see progress toward that 10 million multiplying disciples. You might recognize these quadrants as well. It forms the basis for our leadership framework. And at the heart of the framework is the heart of the leader. And what happens in the heart of the leaders, and for each one of us as leaders, determines whether we're doing this as just mechanics or whether we're doing it in faith and in line with what God teaches. The strategic plan will form the basis for our work. It is the reason we will unite as a team, and it is a process that the team leader will use as direction setter. So the team leader leads the team through this process around our common work in order to establish what steps are necessary for us to achieve our goal in the power of the Holy Spirit. Once we know kind of what the work is in general, there are some specific things that we want to look at. One is who does what. Each one of these steps represent all kinds of work that need to be assigned to different people on the team. So the next step here is to establish clear roles. And that is the work of the coach, the team leader as coach, working with individuals on the team by virtue of the plan to say, here is your position focus, your stretch assignment, in a sense, in order to see this work happen. So this process we will call the staff development cycle, and it relates the work that's been outlined in the strategic plan to the clear roles of the team. So all of that gets kind of digested in these conversations that the team leader and team members have as they're going forward. Once we know kind of who's doing what, then we have the opportunity to really follow one another. The team leader pays attention to the whole process in who's doing what. But we learn how to follow one another's leadership as different ones are assigned perhaps to different steps on the process or different tactics on the process. For example, in the strategic plan, once we know who's doing what, we're also going to identify what kind of resources are needed. And in that resource box, without a doubt, one of the things we look at all the time is the need for funds, the need for people. There could be technology, materials, all other kinds of resources that might be necessary. To know where we're going to need money, we have to write a budget for this plan, right? We might need to do fund development proposals in order to know what money do we have, what money do we need, what partners do we need. If we're looking at people, we need to know in a kind of a leadership pipeline kind of way, or talent review, who are the leaders that can be challenged to next assignments? What cities are we going to? What countries need to be opened? All of those relate to the effective processes of a team. We're going to use every one of those processes to establish what resources we need and how we're going to operate together. If we look at these two items here, the fund development and the budget for this plan tells us how much money we need to raise. We're going to look at how much we have and how much we raise. That takes us over to the team leader's role as spokesperson. And we might all share in that role, but the spokesperson leads the process in helping us know who do we need to cooperate with in order to get here. The most helpful diagram to use as a spokesperson to communicate who we are with donors is this rocket ship diagram. We have our end product is multiplying disciples. We want to see them raised up. We use win, build, and send in order to do that. And each of these little rocket boosters represent our MCCs. They are students, leaders, churches, and digital strategies. And we work together in such a way that the increase of multiplying disciples takes us to our vision of 10 million, ultimately by the end of 2020. So this is an extremely helpful way to explain who we are to people outside our movement. We might be having those conversations with people outside our movement about funds, the way that they can participate, about people. If you have a vision for this city, we would love for you to be the team leader here as we begin to talk about volunteers and the shift that we need to make in order to see more disciples raised up. Once we get that work done, we're going about it, the team leader will continue to use this process with coaching. So that each team member, and the team as a whole is able to track progress. Because the bottom line thing for us is, are we moving toward this? Which gets to kind of the last role of the leader, which is the change agent. And the key question here is, how are we doing? Are we actually making progress from where we've been to where we want to go? Are we making progress on getting the resources we need? Are we making progress individually on our part, my part of our job? The key process here is evaluation. You might hear us say something about leading with information. What information is going to tell us whether we're making progress or not? It could be local movement indicators, like who's receiving Christ, how many disciples do we have, is that progressing? We may need to pay attention to how much funds are we raising, or do we have enough people in the right places in order to get there? All of that comprises leading with information. But if a team is not evaluating their progress, then the plan becomes irrelevant. So the coaching process for the team leader with individuals and the evaluation process for the team as a whole is very important. We also know that teams function best when they have solid relationships and excellent communication. And that comes back to our hearts as leaders. How are we leading? How am I participating? Am I able to humbly follow another team member? Or do I have to be in charge? These are the kinds of things that can become obstacles on teams with team members. So preserving the unity of the Spirit, keeping one another informed, keeping your word on accountability and goals that you've agreed on as a team, all of those are very important ingredients to the integrity and the overall results of the team. What we want to see are God-honoring results. When it comes down to it, we want to see people in every place know someone who truly follows Jesus. We believe these are our core functions as leaders and as team. And if we will unite around a common purpose, led by a team leader who will take us through this process, commit to sharing the work, owning responsibility, responding to accountability, trusting God, walking in the power of the Holy Spirit, we really believe that we can see this kind of result by the end of 2020. Thank you.